Hello everybody, I'm Caden, and we are Adventures of a Stormtrooper, and come along on our adventure as I take my old pair of Chewbacca stilts and transition them into something a lot newer.
Pew pew! Pew pew!
Alright, so these will be my new stilts. They're the Skywalker 2.1 stilts, and you can find them on Amazon, and I can bring up the Amazon link. They are pretty pricey, brand new. They're like $509 USD. I got these stilts from a Wookiee builder that did not want them anymore, so he gave them to me for free. All I did was pay from shipping. He is a Wookiee from England, and I'm here in the United States, so it just cost me shipping, which was like $107, and that's not bad. For these stilts, that's not bad. I'm very happy with them. I gave him a big old bath, and the only thing I've done to him off camera is I put some new padding in here because I was kind of fitting them up to make sure I liked them before I started. But we are going to make new stilts for my Chewbacca out of these. So we're going to cut out some metal plating for the bottom. I've got some rubber that I'm going to put on the bottom for traction. I've got new toes that have been printed by a friend for 3D printing. Foam to cover up to make the silhouette. So that's what we're going to work on in this video. It's not really a how-to, just how I'd put them together as a fun watch of a build. Not really a how-to, because this was a very specific build. I'm 5'5" and need to be 7'3". These are 18-inch stilts. They make me 7'1" without his head, and then with his head is the 7'3", which is what we're looking for. So that's what we're doing. We're building away. So off to cut the metal plates, and we'll start from the bottom and work our way up. Alright, now that we got the feet all cut out, edges sanded for safety, this is going to be I'm going to cut this strip into brackets, and these are what's going to hold I'm going to drill holes, and I got bolts, and that's what's going to hold the bottoms to the stilts itself. So that'll be our next step, is to cut that out and drill the holes. Yeah. So bracket making is next. I do have more metal if I need to cut more strips. This is just like a 1-inch strip that I cut. This is my first time metal working, really. First time I've ever cut metal, so don't come at me if I did something wrong. And I only have all my tools are meant for woodworking, so the jigsaw was my best. It was my only metal cutting blade that I had, so don't judge me if there was a better way to cut it, because that's the only tool that I had that would cut metal. So alright, so instead of making the brackets right away, I got interrupted because I had to go pick Lindsay up from the car dealership. Our car needed brakes, so got interrupted, so I got redirected. And we're gonna, since I only have a little more time left tonight, we're going to glue the rubber onto the bottom of the steel feet, and then we'll fit brackets afterwards. So a little more out of order, but that'll be what we do next. So we're going to clean the metal first with some isopropyl alcohol, and then we're going to glue with, believe it or not, gluing rubber, I have done a multiple glue tests. Super glue is what works best on this rubbery material. I've done multiple tests. You can see my failures here. This was the super glue. I tried to peel it off, and I did successfully peel it off, but it took a long time for me to do so. So this was the super glue test, and it was really well. This was the epoxy. That came right off, like the super glue peeled right off. And this was silicone. It holds, but it does kind of have like a wiggle to it that I don't want for like as my base layer, and so we're going with the super glue. So good old Sam's Club to the rescue. You can actually buy, it comes in a pack like this, a 4-pack, and you can get it for $9.99. So if you ever need super glue. But we're going to specifically use the blue stuff. The blue stuff is flexible, where this stuff is, and this is a not a runny one. It's more of a gel. And this is the runnier stuff, and it's more of for like secure holds. This is for actually gluing like flexible things, which this is what we're gluing, so that's perfect. Get to glue. Alright, so we had a successful glue. Each of them are all clipped up. I probably could have just put some of my dive weights on, but I'm in favor of the clamps because I had them all. You can tell I've done plastic stormtroopers before. I've got enough clamps to choke a horse. So we did it. Successful glue. It did take all 4 of the blue, 2 super glues per foot. I mean, it's quite a lot of surface area, so, and there's not that much in a super glue, so, but not bad. Very excited. But we'll give them overnight to dry. I know it's super glue, but with the rubber it seems to dry a little slower, so that's what we're gonna do, and then we'll see you tomorrow night after work. Just like that, it's the next day. I took all the clamps off, and I did, like, I cut out around this one. All I did was just trim off the excess rubber here to make it look all nice. And I'll do that one next on the thing. I'm just using a X-Acto blade, trimming around the edge. And then I don't have a lot of time tonight, so I'm not going to work on the brackets like I originally wanted to try to fit them all up. I bought a brand new tool today. It's called a heavy duty hot knife, and I got it from Harbor and Freight, and I'm hoping that will cut that foam nicer. So we're gonna experiment with that after I trim out this. Now that we got the foam all cut out, the hot knife worked pretty well. It did singe a little bit, but not too bad. Now that we got that all cut out, now we're going to work on getting these bad boys strapped on to here. So, bolt them in. We're going to measure where we need them to fit on the bottom here, just like I have this one. This one I already measured up on. This was my original one that I templated here. Make sure these sit even. I know this isn't perfectly straight, but no one's gonna judge my placement here too much. Most important thing is the back. This makes a good straight back is the most important thing. Which that looks pretty good. Looks center, and we'll mark it. Alright, so now we're just going to mark it so we know where to place everything. And that's what I did on the other side, so that's how we got that pattern. Now I can see what this is going to kind of look like finally. I haven't done haven't done this ever before, so I didn't know how much I was gonna need, how to bend it. So that's what I'm going to be working on, fitting up these brackets, and we'll drill some holes and put the hardwood in. Well, that didn't go as well as I was hoping. I thought that was just going to be like, quick drape the metal over, drill a hole in it, and call it good. That is not what happened. Like I said, I don't have any metalworking experience. This is like the first, so no judgment, and I don't have the right tools, so please don't judge me for what I have. I'm not going to buy a whole bunch of metalworking tools when I don't do it on a normal basis, so I'm just using what I have. But we did successfully get the stilt strapped on to the metal base plate. It's not... I accidentally did overhang them. These are called elevator bolts. They're flat on the bottom, so this is what it looks like on the bottom. I am going to cover these with something. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to put another layer of rubber over the top, maybe, I think, to make it nice and even, since I got such a good adherence on this. It's either that I did, when I silicone to silicone, the silicone stuck to the metal really well, but I think I might just cut some little dots of the rubber and just super glue them on. Make just little super glue cap, like little rubber caps for them. I still gotta do the toes yet, and that's what these shorter. They didn't have, so don't judge me for my bolt length either. They didn't have enough of these shorter ones, otherwise I could have got all shorter ones. And to be honest, I didn't know how big of a bolt I needed, and I think I like the longer bolts here, because these are the ones that are going to be working, so it's going to take a lot for these to loosen up all the way. But yeah, we got no flex, no wiggle, and the nice part is I've already started like flexing the metal, so we're giving a nice curl to the toe and then a nice curl to the heel. So we're gonna make that, you know how the bottom of your shoes have a frontward curve and a backward curve? We're creating that ergonomic foot motion so it'll be nice and easy to walk in. So that's also why I chose the metal, because the metal will flex where the wood is just gonna, it's gonna break. It'll flex for a time and then it'll break. So that's my logic with going with metal. I wish, to be honest, I wouldn't have cut the foot shape in these. I wish I would have left them a little wider here. So that might have been a mistake. So we're gonna have a little bit of overhang on the elevator bolts, but I don't think, if anybody's looking at my feet, I did a terrible job everywhere else. But the combination I'm using is the elevator bolt, the bracket goes over, then I bought this, a rubber bolt between, or a rubber washer between the bracket and the metal, so we have a layer between, so they're not, it's just not metal on metal. Especially I was afraid with all the movement. Then we're doing a washer, a lock washer to help keep that nut from coming off, keep it under tensions, and then a nut. So it's probably a little overcomplicated, but my grandfather is looking down on me with proud avail that I'm using the lock washer. He was a very big fan of the lock washer. But I think for this instance, with how much stress I'm putting under these, I think the lock washer is definitely necessary. So now, take two, side two. And then I think we're going to go right into, as long as we're on the nuts and the bolts of things, we're going to, these are the toes I had printed by one of our garrison members. They are just, from what I'm guessing, this is ABS. But what they're designed for is for Wookiees of height. These will just go over shoes. I'm too short for that. But if you look, it'll actually, like, we're not going to do that, but if I wanted to, I could just literally, these are extremely unstable without the base plate on. We could just do that, which it looks good, but it'll be, once I get the foam down, it'll just barely stick out. I think what I'm wanting is more that. I think that looks really good. A little farther out, and the toes will be up from the ground, so when I take my steps, they're not gonna break. Also, the person who 3D modeled them, bravo, because if you were to just wear them like this, he put an angle in them so when you walk, you're not gonna break your toes. No one wants broken Wookiee toes. But I'm super stoked to paint these. These look so much better than my other ones. Well, actually, I'll show you. So this is what we, well, good news is we'll be the same height, so that's cool. But this is what we're gonna look like. I think these look much more like Chewbacca feet. I like the width on them. These I thought were a little too narrow, and they're made out of, I think, some resin or something, or modeling clay or something, and they're cracking back here. They worked really well for the time being, but I think I really like the way this looks. So I'm very happy for the upgrade. I did have a moment of doubt and self-pity, the wife will attest to. But
He did.
But we're moving on. It works, so I can stop moping around. So, back to work. As Tim Gunn says on Project Runway, make it work. I've been watching Project Runway with my wife, so. Yes, I'm a nerd and I love fashion shows too. Ooh, camera, bye. second one went together a lot better. And I dare say it, these are really nice. Don't you think I got good movement?
Yeah, you do.
I feel like I got even better movement than my original stilts.
Yeah.
I mean, I realize they don't have like the foam and stuff on them, but they got like a really nice spring in the step.
They do.
And they don't make any creaky noises.
No.
I mean, they make a little bit of that spring,
Yeah.
but I don't feel like that's as annoying as that. These creak.
Yeah.
You don't hear that anymore.
No, you don't.
Gotta watch out for ceiling fan. But, oh. So this is the first time I put them on. I just put them on right before I started filming. You don't even like, I thought you would notice those bare metal thing, like the elevator bolts I haven't covered yet.
Yeah.
I thought you would like notice them.
You can't even really hear them.
Hear them. I mean, this isn't really, nothing's hardwood floor. I'm going to cover them. That's not, it's just, especially because if I go walk on pavement, I'm just going to wear them down, and I don't want to do that either. But they're not as like obnoxious. And I thought maybe, because they are subtly raised, I thought maybe I'd feel them. I don't feel them at all.
Good.
No, I like it. And then I also like the front spring in the step. It feels more like a natural walk with an ankle then.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Alright, who's creaking? Was that me?
I have no idea.
Oh. Someone needs a little grease.
Oh, yeah.
You can...
Yeah.
Don't worry. I got motorcycle chain grease for that. That'll work great. It should be roughly the same as hydraulic grease.
I would think so.
Alrighty. Toe time. Okay, we got the toes attached. We got some wookiee feet, and we've done our first test run. Walking around, and the metal is protecting the ABS 3D printed toes. And I also greased that spot so we're not whining anymore. I think it looks great. I'm really happy with it. I mean, I made a couple minor measurement mistakes with the bottom board, but I think it's all coverable. Now, that's it for tonight. Tomorrow we were going to work on finish cutting all that disastrous foam. God, I hope that idea works. That's the next hurdle to overcome, foam. The foam plan is to go from around, all the way from the ground, all the way up to my toes, filling with foam, and then sculpting it to make it look like that, where it makes a transition of legs. And then up top here, between here and here, usually I have like a foam thing that I could still use. It's still perfectly good. That I strap around, like sits here to like make a little triangle, but I'm gonna try to make a new triangle, maybe a little nicer one. If I got extra foam and extra patience, that's the real key. If I don't have any extra patience, we're gonna use the old ones. But yeah, that's the game plan. And then after that, the plan is to Mom's going to help. We're gonna sew I got some bridal satin in black to cover the white foam to help transition the white foam to black undertone for Chewie. So yeah, I'm very happy with it so far. There's still a lot more work, and then of course I gotta paint the toes. We're getting there though. So now we're ready to cut some foam. I already cut off camera because I was multitasking and doing other things. I cut the first piece just to see how I like it and what I was gonna do to kind of attach it. And what I ended up doing to attach it is just cut the holes for those bolts, and the bolts are actually holding it down, and then the duct tape right now is just to like hold it down in place. I think I'm gonna give it like a duct tape encasing to kind of smooth out these edges, because this foam unfortunately doesn't cut very well no matter what tool you have. The hot knife works really well, but a pair of plain scissors works just as good. So the tape is gonna just help give shape to the foam. We're gonna use that as like our and I made this like duct tape strap just to hold it down, but if I needed to get to the bolts I could easily cut it off. And that's the true purpose here, is we want to make sure we can get to the stilts if we need to repair them in any way. Well, first test fit of the Chewie. I don't have the fur on the stilts themselves because I wanted to see if I needed to like nip and tuck the foam sculpting more. The foam cutting and sculpting way better than I thought. I thought that was gonna be the hard part. Actually, I thought so what happened is a reverse. I thought the brackets were gonna be harder to make, or easier to make, and then the foam was gonna be the easy part. And it's kind of reversed. Like the brackets were the hardest part, and the metal working, and then the foam worked out pretty good. I didn't intend to duct tape like I did all the way around the foam, but I needed that duct tape to kind of sculpt the foam better. The hot knife, because I used upholstery foam and not like a styrofoam or like the construction insulation foam, it doesn't cut like you can't get the detail sculpting like you would, but I didn't want the squeaking of those materials either. This foam, it's not gonna squeak. The only sound that I have now is actually the tape giving a little bit. It sounds like I've got stuff stuck on my shoe. And actually, I might have spray adhesive on the bottom of my foot now that I think about it. Because my right one's not doing it, my left one is, so I wonder if I accidentally got spray adhesive on the bottom of my foot.
Whoops. Probably.
That's easy enough to fix. A little Goo Gone will be good. So, I'm very happy with the overall shape, so actually, I'm not going to put the fur on yet. I'm going to paint the toes, then I'll put the fur on. Because if I put the fur on and then paint the toes, then I have to do a whole bunch of hairstyling, so... Painting is next, but I'm super happy with the way they look. They walk really nice. I'm very stable. Like I'm not unstable at all. Even with the fact that I haven't covered up those metal nubs yet, which I forgot about, which I should probably do that first before I paint. So, metal nubs covering painting. Well, we almost finished. The only thing I have left to do is the right side got a coat of under fake fur to like hide the gap between the Krylon real hair and the, here, let's see if I can show you better in the, see how you see kind of like this under, it's really close. This is just like that faux fur that you can buy at the craft store, and it's so, oh, sorry, I flipped you upside down. That was rude. It's so close to the fake fur color that I chose to put that as the under color to kind of help blend in the floor, where I ran out of that because I just used it left over from my Wookiee hat project. So I only have the fake hair under the front toes, the rest is blank. I mean, you can't really tell. I could probably leave it just like this, but if it like kicks up or something, I want that faux fur under there. And then under here, I put the fur down here, kind of like if, you know how dogs have fur underneath their toes? That's what I did there. Is gave them some like fur to, and it's covering that seam between the metal plate and the toes. So they're not going to be as accessible as I thought for like working on them if the stilts themselves have a malfunction. They are like, they can be taken apart. The foam up the back, I can just slit the seam and theoretically take it off, but it's going to be a bigger job if I need to replace anything than I initially thought. But once you get down to it, the nuts and bolts, they're easy enough to take off. But I really like the way that they turned out. The paint job turned out good. I didn't show, Lindsay went to Michael's for me and got some darker brown for the toes to match the gloves a little better, and I think that looks a lot nicer. So, it looks really good. But we'll finish tomorrow. I'll put the under thing, and then we'll do like a whole fit with the pants. Those are the old stilts over there. They look kind of sad now, but I really like this. These are a little wider, so I had to that's what you saw me latch hooking when I took this off there. I had a blank spot in the back, so I had to latch hook my own, which anybody who latch hooks professionally, I'm sorry, I'm not a very good latch hooker yet. So yeah, they look really good. I'm happy with them. I think I cut this side accidentally. The hair on his toe is a little shorter than that side, but I think I like it. I might cut that shorter, or I might leave them a little asymmetric. But we will see you tomorrow once Hobby Lobby opens, so I can get the correct color faux fur. Michael's had the wrong color. So the troubles of working on a Sunday. Well, Lindsay was very kind and went and got me some new fake fur. It is medium brown, long pile, so it's the long fur length, and that's what I've been using as kind of like an under fur to bulk this up without having to latch a whole bunch more fur. This too, it's cheaper and easier to replace than the nice over-the-top fur, and it's just to cover the bottom, so I figured using this, and it looks really nice over the top, and the hair color is very similar, so it kind of looks more like a undercoat. So this is the last thing we have to do, is to put the fake fur around the bottom, and then we're done. And then we'll do a test fit. But the right one's already done, so I just have to finish the left one. And I'm sorry, when I put this part on to the left one yesterday, I thought I hit record and I did not. So apologies, there's going to be a little bit of footage missing, but I can't undo it. So, alright, let's get to work. Well, and we did it. We have a special guest. This is Zazu. This is our ferret, one of our ferrets, and he was being obnoxious. So I knew if I started filming and needed audio, we would hear him banging on the cage, because that's what he does when he wants attention. So baby Wookiee is in the shot for that reason only. But I think they look really good. I really like the way that they turned out. They blend in well with the pants. You can't even tell that section that I had to latch myself in the back. What do you think?
No, I can't tell at all. It looks really good.
And I think that faux fur that I put down on the side, I think that looks really good. It looks kind of more like an under fur. When I pick up my toes, and you can see under, putting that fur to cover the gap between the toes and the plate, I think that looks good, kind of covering all the metal part. So I think that looks really good. I'm very happy with the way they come out. They did turn out to be, those are my old ones over there that I can stand next to them and do like a, I mean, they look different because I took the fur off of them to use the fur, but they did end up being the ones that I'm wearing. They are now 2 pounds heavier a piece, so that's gonna kind of suck for my quads, but hashtag leg day every day, I guess, when I'm in a Wookiee. So I think they turned out well. I hope they upkeep well. I think they will. Yeah. You know, it's always scary when you replace something you're comfortable with something new. But I think walking wise, I think I have a much more natural movement. Let's put the monster away. I have a much more natural movement, I think. I don't know, you'd be the ultimate judge on that.
Yeah, I think you look a lot better walking wise. It looks more natural.
And I did find the source of the stick noise too. So what had happened is some of the tape that was on the foam was sticking to the top of the toes. So every time I would flex my toes, it would go stick and then it would pull apart, because I never intended it to be like, it wasn't like taping to the toes, it was just supposed to be like wrapping around the foam. But because it was a raw tape edge, it kept pressing. So all I had to do was put a tape rim on it. So, but other than that, I'll get away from the bad lighting. Thank you everybody for watching me take my old stilts, and we're gonna keep these around until I test them, and then going to these brand new ones. I think toes wise, I'm really happy with the way the toes look. It is something new to get used to because there's a lot more toe there, and they are more upswept because they're designed so when you're walking it's more ergonomical. But thank you for coming along on our stilt adventure. Bye!